people who have birth at 16 are much more likely to die than if you had birth at 20. So I'm just saying, like, that's...
You know what's weird? You know what's weird? All of these people freaked out when I said a 16-year-old boy marries a 16-year-old girl.
You didn't say that. You said 16-year-old women.
Watch the clip. This bitch is a retard.
No. It was your tweet.
A 16-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl is what I said.
You said 16-year-old women were ready for marriage.
You said you fuck Lizzo. Shut the fuck up, you liar. I said a 16-year-old boy.
So, ZHERKA, would you marry a 16-year-old?
Yo, let me finish. Like, let's not pretend I'm not the star of the show.
Yeah, you are the star. Would you marry a 16-year-old if you could?
Catch up. So I said in this study that I read, it made sense. And you know what's so funny?
ZHERKA, would you marry a 16-year-old?
All you women who
Stop
are
dodging the question. Would you marry a 16-year-old if you could?
Don't look at me like that.
No, I don't like. I like 18. But now check this out.
Finally.
I read this study, and you know what's so funny? All the girls who try to cancel me for it, all of you girls in this room are freaking out that a 16-year-old would be having sex with their married partner. All you whores had sex at 16. Gross. That's the fucking funny part of that tweet. It was bait. Yo, we're pretending. Who lost their virginity like me? Pure heart. I lost it at 20. None of you. You guys are fucking in rollerblades like disgusting animals. And you're acting like me reading a study. You guys are the pedophiles, not me.
Answer the question.
Raise your hand here if you lost your virginity at 16, 17. Let's go, liars. Look at these liars, bro.
No one's gonna.
15.
Wait,
15. There you go. There's one.
I was 13, but
You know,
we're in a
it's
relationship
explains
for
your
2
career.
years.
Okay.
Yo, we were together for 2 years.
Oh my God.
There you go.
You attack from both sides. You know, I feel
I
like
didn't even attack you.
I
That
feel
was
like
on
these
you.
porn stars when they're taking all the dicks. You
I
know?
would say,
I'm not a porn star, babe.
I mean, listen, I would say it's fairly true that women in general lose their virginities at earlier ages than men do.
Yeah.
Keep it 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, because y'all fucking is 18 and we 14 and y'all fucking us. That's why. So y'all older and we younger.
What?
That's how it is. I'm not the only one that it happened to me.
She
I
said
lost my
older men
virginity
prey
with
on
the same
younger
guy,
women.
and
You
we're
just
still friends
agreed.
to this day.
It happened to me. I
Anyhow,
thought everybody
Yeah,
else.
that's
I
a
agree
good
with
point.
it.
Is it older men prey on younger women or younger
Yeah.
women prefer older men?
But also,
Younger
older
women
men
definitely prefer older
prey on
women.
younger
No,
women.
Byron's right. There's
older
arousal
women
with an
are
older
never
guy.
gonna
There's
go.
Well, younger
Older
women.
women are never gonna fuck a high school boy.
Exactly.
Like you're never.
That's a lie.
Oh
That's
my-
not true at
Ew.
all.
That's
I
not
mean,
true.
my mom is a
Second
cougar,
degree
so I can
like,
attest to
lame
that.
ass.
Yo,
Yeah.
look at the
It's way
news.
less common.
Hold on,
It's
hold on.
way less
Ladies,
common.
hold on,
And it's like-
guys. She's correct. Like in general,
Yeah,
women
exactly.
aren't gonna fuck like date men that are significantly younger than them, but men that are older will date women that are significantly younger than them. That's why it's so sensationalized in the news when a woman does actually have sex with a high school kid, because it's not common. That's why they sensationalize it. But in general, it doesn't happen. Women prefer men that are older, and men prefer women that are younger. So I find it funny though how you framed it that men are predatory
Oh,
for doing
no.
that.
Let
when
me
that's the female
clarify.
preference.
Let me clarify. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if you are a man and you're specifically looking for a 16-year-old, we know that 16-year-old brains, their prefrontal cortex, it's not developed. They're still developing.
You can say that to
let me
25.
finish.
You can say that till 25 years old. So you don't believe that a 22-year-old girl
Are
getting
you gonna
fucked.
let me finish? Are you gonna let me finish? Or are you gonna keep? Okay, good.
Because I'll never finish with you.
So, oh God. So basically,
All right, go ahead.
okay. No, the older you get, the more your brain develops. Obviously, this isn't 0 to 100. It's not like, oh, you're selling 25 and then like, you know, you're much more developed. No, it's a progression, right?
Okay.
So if you have an older man preying on somebody who's like 16, that's predatory behavior. Now, if they're more developed and they're like younger, but not like 10 years younger, 8 years younger, that's a different story.
Question: are you using the prefrontal cortex argument as your main basis for why the women are being, I guess, the men are being predators because their prefrontal cortex isn't developed?
It's not just a prefrontal. It's the brain
That was the
is
main thing.
Just
you left
bite
with.
the bullet.
yeah,
Just
but
bite
it's
the
not. It's
bullet.
much less developed compared to a 22-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old.
It's not developed until you're 25. Really.
Not completely,
Yeah.
but it's not 0 to 100.
No,
like
that's-
obviously, a
what?
2-year-old is not the same thing as a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
But there's a series of development that happens.
Yeah.
A 25-year-old is closer to a 23-year-old
Okay, so
than a
Biggsy,
16-year-old.
So you're saying in this instance of a 16-year-old, okay, I agree with you on that, but you got to understand that women overwhelmingly prefer older men.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't think that men should be preying on women who are younger than 18 if they're older than 18.
Why 18?
Okay, I can agree with that.
18 is usually like the age of consent. That's when people start doing
Well,
steps
take the
towards
law out of it.
adulthood.
Why do you think 18?
Because I think that when somebody turns 18, they start taking steps towards adulthood where their development increases, where they're able to do more things, realize more risks in life.
You think there's that much of a maturity difference between a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
100%.
Because you graduate high school, it kind of traps your brain into like, learning how to follow people. But when you're 18, you out of it, you do what you want to do. Like,
What
you
about
make your own
18
minds
and
up.
19? Is there any difference there?
No.
Much smaller, very little.
But 16 to 18 is a big one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we can all agree
No.
legally date above 18. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
no.
I mean,
I only
depends on
date
the
18-year-olds and 19-year-olds. That's it.
Certain
That's all
states,
that's all I like.
certain states, I think the age of consent is like 15, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Texas
Yeah.
is like
State.
17. I think Kentucky or Kansas is
That's
like 15.
crazy.
Different states have different ones, but
Is
Most of
that
these
true?
states have
Yeah,
Romeo and
yeah,
Juliet
really?
laws.
Different states have
I think the
different
age of
ages,
consent
yeah.
is 15.